and I think they will win that division in a few years. But the team I think is going to win the division right now is the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, they're going to win this division. I think unless they shoot themselves in the foot. Personally,
Mhm.
they will be. I mean, just looking at it, they were a better team than the Titans. I think by the end of the year, last year, and now they have their one issue really was actually the quarterback position. Philip Rivers, you could tell he was just on his last legs in his career, but their running game is going to be dominant with Jonathan Taylor. They have a lot of good receiving weapons. Potentially could add receiving weapons as we spoke about a few episodes ago with potentially acquiring Julio Jones as well.
Mhm.
Carson Wentz, I think, should have a better season this year. I think there was a lot of internal factors that were affecting his overall career in
Mhm.
Philadelphia. So I think a change of scenery might do well with him in general. But this draft, I think they did just okay with this draft. I like their first two picks player wise,
Mhm.
as a player. I don't like the picks for the Colts though.
Back to back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back to
I.
back edge rushers. I like Quiddy Pay and
Mhm.
Deo O
Odeyingbo.
Odeingbo. I need to work on that. Both I think solid players, but going back to back edge rushers, also especially when you have a glaring need at left guard with
Left tackle. Left tackle.
left tackle
Mhm.
with Anthony Costanzo retiring.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think they addressed that in the offseason. So that's
No,
where
they did. They signed Eric Fisher,
oh, they
the
did sign
tackle.
Eric Fisher.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Which actually
So,
that's a great signing as well. So never mind. I take that back. But those are my two thoughts. What are your overall thoughts?
so I like the Quiddy Pay pick. I don't like the Deo Odeyingbo.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Let me get a drink of water real quick.
No, you're good.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
But I overall they drafted good players.
Hmm.
They didn't have a third round pick, but the Kylan Granson from SNU is a more of a pass catching tight end. But I do somewhat like that pick, especially he's going to be your third tight end behind Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox. But uh, they just drafted like good players. Sean Davis out of Florida was a good player. He was kind of a hard hitting safety, if I remember right.
Hmm.
Uh, and so for me, I think they drafted some good players. It's just kind of glaring that the two edge rushers back to back, when that wasn't really even the weak part of their defense. They needed some corners to develop.
Yeah,
So I don't know. For me, it was an odd draft, but I still think they got some good players. We'll
I
just
think
kind
so
of
as
have to
well.
see how they fit.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the Colts are one of those teams as well where it's kind of like with them addressing Carson Wentz and then also with them addressing Eric Fisher, they're it's like I'm not comparing them to Tampa, but it was like on the field play. But if you look at their overall needs, they kind of had everything. It's still
hmm
like their defense was actually pretty solid last year as well. Their offense is honestly they didn't really need too much after those signings of Carson Wentz and Eric Fisher. I mean, of course, you could add depth and receivers and running back, which they did add some receiver depth as well. But
uh-huh.
yeah, for me, I think Quiddy Pay will be very dynamic. I think Deo will be as well. But then going back to back edge rushers, as you said, I feel like they could have added more depth at like a cornerback position, because there were some solid cornerbacks that were available at that time, also.
Yeah, and that's so like for me, I'm gonna give them an overall rating. I'm gonna do a C plus and a half,
Yeah.
just because I think like they got good players, just kind of in an odd order. Like uh, I don't know.
Hmm.
I feel like they could have gone tackle in the second round, or maybe even traded back and then gotten somebody else and acquired more picks just to build some depth up. But I don't know. For me, they drafted good players. Just oddly, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah, just in a
So
weird draft. But when you are kind of in that position where the Colts are at, where you have a pretty solid team already around you, um, and there aren't like glaring needs as
hmm
some of these other teams in this division, so to say, you really could be going into this draft as like the best. Like, who do we think is the best player available? And so, when you draft some of these guys, it really could be. I know we just took what he paid, but I mean, Deo's still there. And he's high on our board. We like his scheme fitting for our defense.
hmm
Let's just take him, and then we'll put
yeah, yeah,
more depth on pass rushing. We're gonna want to continue to get after Trevor Lawrence. Want to continue to get after Ryan Tannehill, Deshaun Watson if he plays, because all those quarterbacks can run, and so having quick edge rusher guys to keep them in check.
hmm
It's always good to have that kind of depth. But
yeah, yeah. I
uh,
also think they're gonna kind of adopt a similar strategy to what the Ravens did in the AFC divisional, sorry, wild card. Um, and they're gonna beat Tennessee by just not letting Derrick Henry get going.
well, and especially they're going to be able to do that now because and we're going to get to Tennessee in a second. I don't think that they've really had too many offseason receiver signings, and they cut several people, and um, really all they have is AJ Brown and Derrick Henry. To my knowledge, unless if there's some receivers, because I try and keep up with the Titans living in Nashville, just on some of the updates. But
hmm
it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see how they do approach that, because I think the Ravens did kind of provide a blueprint on how to stop that team. Because if once Derrick Henry gets rolling, it is tough to stop that offense, because then that's when the play action comes into play. But that's where, when talking about the Titans, they lost so much. And losing Jonnu Smith, your over the middle tight end threat. And you lost your receiver too, and Corey Davis as well. Um, there's going to be a lot of unknowns coming into this season. And
hmm
then I have a new offensive playbook as well. So,
Yeah, no, definitely. But did you give them an overall grade on what you thought?
oh, it's kind of hard to grade. But you said C plus. I've been a little more lenient, so I'll stick with that. I'll go with B minus, even though
Okay,
I
okay.
think a C plus and a half is kind of the
Yeah,
same.
I said
B minus.
C
That's
plus and a
kind of
half just
similar.
because I like it's good players. Just
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Do you really need two top 50 defensive ends out of
Maybe.
this draft class? I mean, if you need it, you need it. But I don't really think that they actually needed it. So,